guys.
Thanks.
All right. How's everyone doing? Fantastic. And of course, I have too much technology up here, as usual. So my name is Hamid Shojaee. This is my colleague, John Haley. I'm the founder of Axosoft, and John is the product owner of GitKraken. And we're going to be talking about a little bit different from Emma's. We're going to be talking about going from the CLI, the command line interface, to a graphical user interface and advancing Git, essentially, and the challenges we've faced in doing that. Before I get started, though, show of hands, I'm assuming everyone in the room is a Git user, a heavy Git user now. So raise your hand if you are. OK, excellent. That's almost everybody. Keep it up if you also use a Git client. OK. Less than a quarter of you. OK. And how many of you guys use GitKraken, just out of curiosity? OK, good. Because it's not out yet. So, we're going to be talking about that and the birth of GitKraken as well. At Axosoft, we do this thing we call 30-day projects every year, where after a major release of our product, we have the entire dev team actually take 30 days off and not work on the day-to-day sort of main product line, and work on projects from scratch using the sort of newest and greatest technologies in development, right? And the idea behind the 30-day projects is to sort of have the dev team stay up to date with the fast sort of changes in software development. We take those opportunities to learn about Node and WebSockets and all sorts of stuff that sort of comes all the time at us as developers, that our techniques and skills would be outdated if we didn't do those things after 5 years, right? So 18 months ago, John and another colleague, Max, come to me before the start of one of these 30-day projects, and they say, hey, Hamid, we want to create a Git client, one that sort of takes the normal, and of course, the normal sort of Git graph. This is a CLI representation of interactions with your Git repository, and turns it into something that's a little bit more human readable as opposed to machine readable, that is visually pleasing to look at, and ideally allows you to interact with it using the graph. And my response was, why? Why do we need another Git client, essentially? Aren't there already a bunch of them out there? And their response was, yes, but they all rely on the CLI. They can't do anything the CLI can't do. They're all terrible performance, and they all have this problem and that problem, all the stuff basically that everybody else hates all the sort of Git clients for. They regurgitated back to me, and our goal, we want to create something that doesn't suck, right? And that's the bar that we're going after. And I said, shit, well, if you're going that high, you're going to try to create something that doesn't suck, then fuck it, let's do it. Can you do it in 30 days, right? Because that was sort of my main concern. Can it be done in 30 days? And they're like, yeah, we can probably get a prototype going in 30 days, but to create a real good, solid product that can be used, you know, we probably need more like 3 months, right? Like famous last words of developers who are like predicting and scheduling software. So, of course, 6 months later, nothing. And I was like, huh. 9 months later, I check in, and they're like, oh, we had to write this other library called NodeGit, and yeah, we've been working on that. 12 months later, we had to rewrite everything from scratch. We now know so much more, and now I'm thinking, okay, shit, should I fire these guys? Because like this is going nowhere fast. But there was a glimpse of hope. There was something special that was already sort of visible, and we decided, no, we're going to double down on this thing, and we quadrupled the team size, and we put like a ton of resources into it, and we sort of made it a mission to solve this problem. And then 18 months later, so that was 12 months point. 18 months later, finally we saw this on Twitter. So Felix Meyer, who I don't know, is Felix in the audience today? No? Okay, cool. So he tweets out, I really love GitKraken, the first Git GUI I tried that doesn't suck. And we were like, hold on. I got technical difficulties, so I'll switch over here. And we were like, victory, right? Like, it's a little bit of a delayed punchline, but it still worked, right? Victory! We created something that doesn't suck with the Git community. And of course, Felix wasn't the only one. We literally get hundreds of tweets every week about how people love the interactions that they do with GitKraken. It feels really good, but really we're thinking, wow, how bad does software in a category have to be that in order to get lots of people to fall in love with it, you just have to sort of reach this bar of not sucking. So that was really cool. But of course, a lot of you guys are thinking, why a GUI at all, right? Like, why do we need a graphical user interface on top of this thing? So undoubtedly, all of you guys have probably tried to explain Git to someone else, or someone has explained Git to you and how it works. And everyone starts with this, you know, directional asynchronous, or what is it? Acyclical, excuse me, graph, right? A directional acyclical graph that represents source control repositories and your snapshots and your branches and your merges, right? You could try to describe this graph to people instead of just drawing one out, but drawing it is a lot easier to allow people to understand. And our thinking is that, you know, how awesome would it be to actually work with that graph for your day-to-day interactions with Git? And it not only makes it easier to understand, but easier to interact with. And that has been the sort of mission of the GitKraken project. So what I want to do next is have John talk about the challenges that we've faced as a team in bringing this stuff into life. So John, and you might want to give this a try, and let's see how
we'll see
how well it works. So there you go.
All right. Thanks, Hamid.
Absolutely.
So like Hamid said, I'm John Haley. I am the product owner of GitKraken. And if you want to tweet about this, I just threw up the hashtag #WhyGetGUI. And you can tell me why I'm totally wrong and off base at JohnHaley81. So, you know, I've been a long-time Git user. And in that time, I've seen Git's popularity just skyrocket. And it's been fantastic and exciting and amazing to watch. And as Chris said earlier, we want to put SVN out to pasture, and that's kind of happening, so that's good. You know, seems like every day, every week, we hear about another company, another service moving to Git, and you know, it's just been fantastic to be part of this community. One thing I'm not excited about, though, is that there is this growing kind of gap that we all have noticed. You have the super user and the user of Git. You know, the super user can come through, they can, you know, parse the ref log to undo changes that you lost. They can filter out the branch so that when you publish your production key to a public repo, it's like that never happened. Shh, never happens. And then you have a user, and we are basically, you know, these are the things we need to do to get our changes out to people. And this is, you know, kind of people's introduction to Git at first. Hey, this is Git. It tracks collaborative work on projects through a beautiful distributed graph 3 tree model. Oh, cool, how do I use it? I have no idea. Memorize these shell commands and type them to sync up. If you get errors, save your work elsewhere, nuke the project, and clone it again. Yes, I mean, this resonates with so many people. Randall Munroe really hit a nerve with this comic. It's very popular, and it plays out through offices time and time again. So Git does have a learning curve problem. With Git, we kind of have a starter kit. This is what you need to get going. You can learn these commands and start working with Git, collaborating with other people, and it's great, and it's, you know, it's a new world and all this stuff, and, you know, you can get by with just a small amount of effort. And humans are lazy, and I'm lazy too. And they say lazy devs make the best devs. So I like to do the minimum amount of work for the maximum amount of results. And if I'm learning something and I can get pretty competent with it, you know, really fast, then I will. And if there's a serious roadblock to getting past that point, that's probably where I'll stop. And this is where a lot of users stop. They have this, and this is their Fisher-Price My First Git kit. And it makes them knowledgeable enough to do something and dangerous. And they're dangerous, and they don't even know why they're dangerous. They can break something and not know how they did it, and worst of all, they don't know how to do it, how to not do it again in the future. So say they come along and they break something. Well, maybe your first instinct is to go to the official documentation. So you'll go to that, and it's hard to parse. It reads like people took random English words, abstracted their meaning out to nothing, randomly arranged them onto a page, and now you have to have a computer scientist to code it. So what we're looking at right now is actually a generated man page that is such a spot-on parody, we have to have a banner at the top to let people know this isn't real. However, this generated man page is about as useful to a new user as the real deal. So, okay, I'm a new user, I just broke something, I'm in trouble, I'm gonna call the Office Get Guru, probably somebody in this audience. You're gonna come in, you're going to, basically sit down and say, well, you see, when you checked out the rope branch, you're gonna do a detached history, which means you need a branch. And the user's gonna be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What the hell are these words? Like, I just need this fixed, and I need it pushed. Like, we're going into production, things are broken, give me a hand. So we're gonna come in, we're gonna solve their problem, we're gonna fix it, then we're gonna fly away, and then the next time something breaks, we're gonna come back in like Superman, and we'll just keep going again and again and again, and nothing ever gets better. Now, these users, they aren't what I would call computer illiterate people. Like, these are super users. Almost all of them almost all of them are comfortable on the CLI, but they still find Git difficult. This is kind of disconcerting. Git is almost becoming a required technology to use as a developer. It's so ubiquitous. The adoption rate is just exploded. We use it everywhere. If I'm hiring somebody out of college and they don't know Git, it's like, well, holy crap, we got a lot to go over, when you get hired or whatever. So, this is a problem. And dev is hard. We don't need to artificially increase how hard development is. It's, like I said, it's hard to recruit new devs, and we have a problem in this field with new blood coming in and people kind of taking up the reins and finding new talent. So we need to keep development as hard as it needs to be and not harder. We would like to make it as easy as possible for people to understand these concepts. Development works best when you collaborate with other people. And collaborating with other people works best when you have a growing community to do that with. And Git itself is made so that you can work with other people better. So, you probably all know this, and if not, I'm just hoping that you're at least entertaining the idea. So I don't want to get up and talk about a problem and not kind of go over a little bit of the solution that we came up with. So what we did is we wanted to kind of get to the core of Git. What is the core of Git? Like everyone's been saying, it's a directional acyclical graph. It's a graph, it's a collection of edges and nodes. It's directional. You have a flow between them. You can go from A to B, but not back. And it's acyclical. A to B to C, but you can't go back to A. And this is the core of Git. It might not be useful for teaching someone right off the bat, but this is the core. Everything else is built up off of this. So graphs naturally want to be graphical, and it makes sense. Git, however, is exclusively used as a CLI tool, and GUIs are almost always considered to be second-class citizens. In GUIs, you have to shell out to the command line, and if you want to stay in the command line and get a graph, you have to use this command, which is totally obvious. So, the GUIs shell out to the CLI, and in the CLI, it's hard to really get a graphical illustration of what's happening in your repo. So you have these opposing forces at work. You have the core concept of Git, which is a graph, and it wants to be represented graphically, but you have a CLI interface, which is, I mean, it's really not graphical. So you're forced to work outside of what I would argue Git's natural environment. And you have to keep another model of data in your head. And if this model is wrong, we can get into a lot of trouble. So us at Axosoft, we wanted to take a new approach. We wanted to distill Git down and just get to the core concepts. We wanted to figure out what was it that you really needed in Git. Just break it all down and start from scratch. Now, when I say distill Git, I don't mean we want to get Git Lite or sort of Git or Git for Dummies, but just get down to the core concepts. This is our starting point, and from here, we'll build up. So Git GUIs, like I was saying, they all shell out to the CLI. So a lot of GUIs is basically a series of forms you fill out, which take an input and then take that input and go submit it to the CLI command, run that, and then come back with the result. And it begs the question that a lot of people ask, why do this? Why learn a GUI when that's all you're doing? You're going out to the CLI, just bypass the middleman, go learn real Git. And that's what you should do. And you'll tell this to somebody that's coming in, somebody that's learning Git for the first time, and they'll say, yeah, that sounds good. I want to learn real Git. I wanted to use the actual application that everyone else uses. And they'll start using it, but they really won't be able to grok the concepts because it's not graphical. It's not showing them what's happening. It's a black box. You're just piping things in and then seeing some SHA at the end, and okay, that's cool. So that's what it did, EF24A, blah, blah, blah. And we wanted to throw all this out, challenge all of these assumptions, and start from scratch. So like I said, Git is just a graph. That's the heart of Git. So this is the basis for GitKraken. We wanted to kind of make the fundamentals easy. We wanted to optimize for that, and doing so dictated to us that we made the graph the center of the user experience. We wanted to show users what was happening, not just be a black box. We wanted to allow them to interact graphically with their Git repo, and we wanted to even show users what action they were due and how that would affect the repo if they were to do it. So you could see, like, hey, if I'm going to merge these two branches, you can see that your repo not only as it is, but as it will be if you perform the action. So, when we were doing this, Max and I, when we started, it was just the two of us. We're not designers. We're coders at heart, and we're not very visually artistic. So we needed something more. We needed to make Git beautiful. If we made Git beautiful, we thought that we could have a captive audience. And with a captive audience, it would be easier for the user to learn. So we needed a skilled visual artist that could come in and help us. So we had a pretty primitive UI. We just moved really fast. We iterated. We got a design, refined it, re-implemented it, and blah, blah, blah. And we moved really fast, and we just tried to get something that we thought could help people learn and experience and use Git. So here we are. This is the graph. Now, what are the top things that we really need to see when we're using it? We need to see where things are. We need to see who did what. And we need to see what they did. So with this, we thought we had the beginnings of something beautiful, something that could captivate a user and make them want to use this application, not because their boss said so, or their lead dev said so, or it was mandated from on high, or the internet says this is what they should be doing, but because they wanted to. And if they want to, then we've kind of fought half the battle. Learning isn't now an uphill battle. We can start helping people learn the concepts a little bit easier. So there's still something missing. Git doesn't really lead to exploration. When your code base is on the line and things can break, that doesn't really give you a good motivating factor for exploring what the capabilities of this tool are. So we knew we needed something else. We needed an undo button. a bailout switch that allows the user to get back to where things were good. Get back to when things weren't broken and I didn't accidentally discard all of my changes. We had to try and stop letting Git be scary. The user's curiosity can't be stifled. Another thing that does stifle curiosity are modal pop-up boxes. When you use Git, it's always like, well, are you sure? Do you want to stash? Blah, blah, blah. Like these things, they break the flow and they make using Git a chore. So with an undo button, we can kind of remove a lot of this stuff. And when we remove it, it makes, it dramatically improves using Git just overall. I mean, can you imagine if you were in a word processing application and you were prompted every time you tried to delete a word? You'd go mad. I would. I would never do that. So, we have to, it just felt natural to kind of remove these from the application. We also knew it had to be cross-platform. I use all 3 operating systems all of the time, and Linux can't be an afterthought. So, luckily for us, when I started writing GitKraken, I actually moved over to GitHub's fantastic Atom editor. And that was one of the first dev tools that really gave me a solid, consistent experience across all of the machines that I used. And thankfully, GitHub open sourced Atom, and the core of Atom is an engine called Electron. So we use Electron to give us this cross-platform capability. And and thank you very much, GitHub, for doing that. So we had a rule in GitKraken, and the number 1 rule is never shell out to the CLI. So without shelling out to the CLI, we had to bring in some requirements. And luckily for us, some very talented people were already hard at work at a library called libgit2. And now we had a problem of how do we bring libgit2 into Electron? And that problem was solved partially by NodeGet. And when we started, NodeGet was, it wasn't complete. There was a lot of really good work done on it, but it wasn't ready for prime time yet. So the GitKraken team, we became head maintainers on it, and we started, working on it and bringing it up and making it better. And actually now, libgit2 or NodeGet is the most popular libgit2 bindings library, which is really exciting. And that means a lot to me because I very much value giving back to the community, and it's great to see something that you use get a lot of, or something that you made get a lot of use out there in the community. So when Hamid said that this was going to take 3 months, so we blew way past that deadline. I mean, has anybody else ever gone over overtime? No? Okay. I hate you. Assholes. So, but I mean, we think it's worth it. We spent a lot of time. We did all this stuff, and just kind of, we tried to think differently about how Git should be used. And as of yesterday, we released GitKraken 1.0, which has been really, really exciting for us. And we like to... Oh. Thanks. And we like to think that GitKraken can help bridge the knowledge gap between users and super users. This thing died. So one of the things we noticed in early user testing is that when users who were maybe a little bit familiar with Git but not really understanding the core concepts very well, they would use this and then they would give us feedback like, this is great, like I'm actually understanding what's happening, and I've tried to before and for whatever reason it never clicked, but now it's starting to. And it was reinforcing these concepts, and that helped drive better use of the interface and helped drive them kind of diving deeper. And it was a positive feedback loop, which was just fantastic. Well, I'll just grab this guy. So if I could kind of leave you with anything today, I'd like to leave you with this. Is the CLI truly the ideal for how most users should use the Git application? Or is that just how we've always done it? To reference the late Grace Hopper, the most dangerous phrase in our language is, we've always done it this way. And I try to fight that. I'm John Haley. I'm part of the GitKraken team. And we also try to fight that. Thank you.
Very cool. So, can you guys hear me as well? All right, awesome. So we have 2 minutes for questions, and we have we're going to bribe you. We have these T-shirts that my colleagues over here are going to be throwing at you. One of them is very aggressive, so she might throw it at your face. Let's start over here. Go ahead.
Git Credential Manager for Windows, because you're not using the command line, Visual Studio Team Services and two-factor auth on GitHub are painful currently.
That is correct, yes. It is definitely... Throw another one, harder this time.
I just opened my repository, which uses SSH, and it was the easiest GUI setup that I've had so far.
Woohoo! We just got easiest GUI setup I've ever had. That's a testament. Can we quote you on the?
I feel your pain.
Fantastic.
I also use two-factor, and yeah, and it's definitely something that I want to address as soon as I can. So,
all right. Let's go to a
yeah.
question back there.
When do you think you're going to have integration into Slack or Jira?
Great question. We don't talk about future direction and future releases. Let's go over here.
At what point did the developer team start using GitKraken on GitKraken?
Really
Yeah.
early, actually.
Great
it
question.
was as soon as I could make a commit and push and pull. That's it.
So the question was, when did the dev team start using GitKraken on development? And the GitKraken team used it right away, but we have other dev teams that resisted for some time, but they're all on because it didn't work initially, like 12 months, and it was like, really? But no, it eventually, it became solid to where now everybody is on GitKraken. Let's do one more question real quick over here, and then we'll.
It's a non-technical question, but how did you keep up the momentum and convincing each other that this is a necessary thing?
Cocaine.
All right, let's end it on that. We're gonna end on anything better. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.